Thank you, Cheryl. And again, thank you for kicking off 2025 here with us. If you've read my blog of the first blog of the year, you'll have noted that this liturgical year, which is a slightly different calendar than we follow typically, the January 1 to December 31, but as Christians, we kick off kind of the spiritual year in December. Sometimes it's the last Sunday in November, depending on the calendar works, in the season called Advent, season of preparation and waiting. And about a year ago, I had this strong sense that as a church, we should spend a year with Jesus. And so we begin, I kind of snuck it in and began with the stories preparing us to receive Jesus in Advent this year. But then we're going to look now at the early years of Jesus for the next few Sundays. And by the end of November, we'll have spent time learning not only about who Jesus is, but why Jesus matters and what impact Jesus makes in our lives and in the world. Now, we'll also hopefully hear from some other great preachers too. I think this is a great opportunity to make sure we hear from our wonderful retired pastors and some of our lay people that love to preach and share word, and of course our new pastor Heather when they come to be with us this summer. So that's kind of the big picture for 2025, but here's where we are kind of right now. Last week at the combined service in Batavia, great showing from Geneva folks, by the way, at Batavia, so thanks for showing up there. We looked at Luke's story of the baby after Christmas. This was the dedication in the temple with Simeon and Anna, who recognized God's redemptive mission was beginning in this little child, the Christ child. And we explored in that message how God's Spirit not only claimed Jesus, but claims us, even when we don't see those immediate results, and how that claim on us calls us to share hope, peace, joy, and love in the world. And just as Simeon and Anna trusted in God's promises, we're invited to trust in God's work in and through us, even in small ways today. That's Luke's kind of baby Jesus story. Today, we've gone to Matthew to look at Matthew's baby Jesus story with the visit of the Magi, or scholars as the message puts it, or kings as we like to sing about it. And so we're going to look a little bit about this familiar story as well. Before we do that, I invite you to pray with me and for me. Jesus, thank you for coming to be with us and for being like us. We're here, Lord, ready to spend more intentional time with you, not just today, but the whole year long. Prepare us to have you visit and transform us. Use my words and the meditation of our hearts and our minds to that purpose today and for the whole year long. Amen. I don't know how this became to be, but somehow, as a culture, we've begun to see like New Year's as a new, fresh start. It can feel like this invitation to a journey, a time to reflect on where we've been and what we want to set our sights to on what's ahead of us. As we sang We Three Kings this morning, we're reminded of the power of journey. The Magi, scholars from distant lands seeking out something greater. But their journey wasn't random, like I talked with the kids. They saw this star, and it made them curious, and there was something so compelling about it, they decided that it was enough to leave the familiar behind and seek the unknown. Which makes me wonder, what might we be seeking this year in 2025? Is it peace from a chaotic world? Hope in uncertain times? Better health? More vitality? Closer relationships? Maybe a clearer sense of where God is leading when the future might seem unclear. The Magi's journey invites us to ask, what's drawing us to Christ, the newborn King, today? We know the story well. In fact, it's kind of why I wanted to hear it differently from the message today. to open our hearts, minds, make us a little more curious. But the story begins. The Magi, they see the star, they start the travel, they see it heading towards Jerusalem, and then they stop there to visit Herod. He's the king. They ask, where is the child that's supposed to be born king of the Jews? And this question they ask stirs not only curiosity, but fear. Herod, the reigning king, suddenly feels a bit threatened. His fear leads to desperate attempts to control the narrative, even at the cost of innocent lives. Sounds familiar. But Herod's response often reflects a broader truth. When God's reign tends to break into the world, it disrupts the status quo. Fear, insecurity, power struggles, that arises when power changes. And sometimes it causes immense harm. Herod went the wrong way. His fear led to infanticide, targeting the powerless. And yet in the midst of the turmoil of the story, God's revelation doesn't stop. The star continues to shine, an invitation calling us to go even further. In this case, they literally traveled a little bit further, from Jerusalem to Bethlehem, the place where Jesus is. And here's the good news, that God reveals Jesus as the King of Kings so that people of all nations are drawn into this redeeming love of God. The Magi, curiously enough, are outsiders, foreigners to the whole story, and they're invited into the very heart of this story of God's redemption long before the powerful. And they bow in worship, offering gifts fit for a king. I can imagine the Magi just kind of gazing at the stars. Stars tend to do that to us when we see them, make us wonder more about them, move us to a place of awe, making us think more deeply. I imagine them gazing at the stars, uncertain yet hopeful that their journey might lead them to the thing they need or long for, but don't quite know what it is. Their very journey reminds us that God's love is not confined to our typical boundaries, or to one place, or to one set of people. It helps us to realize that God tends to reach across boundaries, drawing everyone into the transformative power of Jesus' reign. If you haven't started to connect the dots yet, this story isn't just about these ancient travelers. It's about us. Like the Magi, we live in a world searching for something more, some hope. The anxieties of our time can feel overwhelming, if not suffocating sometimes. And that question of where is Christ revealed among us still sits with us today. So how might we, like the Magi, recognize and respond to this call of God, the light of God's love, kind of breaking into our world? The Magi seem to know what to do. They bow, they worship, they give. Their gifts acknowledging Jesus as King, the one who would suffer for the sake of the world. But as we step into the new year, how might we worship Christ the King? We already know where to start to look. After all, we're here today. But if we follow the invitation to the journey, we'll start to see that through acts of compassion, seeking justice, offering our time and resources, all are ways in which God's light tends to break in and disrupt. This whole thing makes me think of the other hymn we'll sing later today about the visit of the Magi. What child is this? We know that this isn't just a song, it's a question. It's a hymn that can haunt in a good way, because it's a persistent question, one that's asked year after year as we sing it. A question that not only is asked to make us ponder, it's an invitation to a journey. where God might be leading through a child born a king. It makes me also wonder in this season, what does it mean for us to proclaim Christ as King in 2025? Another question to set us on a journey. Let that question sink in a moment. What does it mean for us to proclaim Christ the King in 2025? The story of the Magi remind us that God's revelation just keeps going. The same God who drew the Magi to Bethlehem is drawing people still, inviting us to seek, to worship, to proclaim Christ as King with the very gifts that we have to offer the world today. So as we journey through 2025, spending this year with Jesus, may we be open to God's light leading us, open to God's love transforming us, and God's grace empowering us to respond with active love. Because as it turns out, this is Christ the King, whom angels guard and shepherds sing. Amen.